one.
Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you can learn to make more money in less time and have more fun. I'm excited today because I've got Karan Dhillon with us. He is the owner's the Contractors coach. And if you've ever been on the internet and if you look for coaching, I guarantee Karan will show up first. I don't know how he does it, but somehow he gets all over the internet. So if you're talking about marketing, he needs the right guy to talk to, right? So Karan, tell me a little bit about how you got started, what the Contractors coach does, and what kind of clients you like to work with.
Yeah, so Contractors coach, the company's about 10 years old. And so what we do is business coaching for contractors, specifically owners of construction companies. Majority are general contractors, but we got about 30% in the trades. And the way we got started was I was a corporate employee, flying around the world, got tired of it. And I realized if I could help big business make money, I used to be in sales and marketing. I decided to help small businesses, but I had the brilliant idea of quitting my job in 2008.
Oh, good timing.
Yeah, that's one thing I do not recommend you do.
Yeah, don't quit in the middle of recession. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, especially the biggest one in the last 100 years.
Right.
But that's sort of how I sort of ended up working with contractors because back then real estate was tanking, and with that construction went down. And so as we were going and helping small businesses, we had 3 contractors approach us, and they heard about us. They said, "Hey, looks like you can help companies." We didn't know much about construction back then, so we decided to work with them. And over the course of like 18 months, all 3 had doubled in size.
Wow.
And this was like 2009, 10, when their peers are going out of business.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we had a plumber amongst those 3 that did so well, he started like 2 new companies.
Wow,
And
that's amazing. You can definitely work in a difficult time. So how many companies do you work with, Karan?
So far we've crossed, I think, the 500 mark.
Wow, that's a lot of companies.
Yeah.
So, and what is it you do for them exactly?
So when they come to us, our goal is to help them develop professional systems, because that's one thing we learned, because I work with Fortune 500 businesses. The big difference between them and small businesses is the level of professionalism in the systems. So we take those levels of systems, implement them into construction businesses, have them over time hire a team of people, and that's why we work with you guys. Bring those employees in, get those employees trained on those systems. The goal is to have the owner have the ability to step back and manage the business versus having to work in it all the time.
Now, how do you I'm going to assume that most of the people you work with, I'm going to say we're craftsmen to begin with, right? They were plumbers, they're electricians, they're craftsmen. They didn't go to MIT or Harvard Business School, right? So how do you take somebody who's a craftsman and knows an electrician, plumber, knows his trade, knows how to build stuff, and convert him into an entrepreneur or a leader?
Well, there's 3 specific steps, and we always follow them in the same sequence because that's how this works when it does. The first step is always mindset, because I think it's interesting the word you use, craftsman, because that's what we run into all the time. The people we work with are very proud of the work they do, which is good, but that is the mindset of a craftsman.
Right. I build a great house, or I do great cabinets, or I'm a great plumber, right? Whatever.
Yes, exactly. Right. However, what we have to help them do is transition from being that to having the mindset of a business owner, right? Because what I explain to people is that we've all been to a mom and pop coffee shop, right? It's coffee is great, mom and pop have great conversation, donuts are good, but if mom and pop don't work, guess what? They don't make any money.
Right.
And we've also been to a Starbucks, right? Do we even know if the owner of Starbucks knows how to make coffee?
He knows how to make money, but not how to make coffee, right?
Right. But the point is that whether the owner knows how to make coffee or not of the Starbucks, it doesn't matter, because Starbucks is a system that works on trained employees. So it's the same principle that we bring into the construction businesses that we work with. And that requires a big mindset shift.
Well, how do you accomplish that mindset shift? To me, I've been a plumber for 10 years, and I may even not like business people. I may think salespeople are bad. I mean, I might have this, well, people that make a lot of money are doing other people in. I became a plumber or an electrician, or because I wanted to be a good guy. I didn't want to take advantage of other people. How do you deal with that mindset where they may not be excited about being an entrepreneur or businessman?
Well, that's exactly how we do it. We repeat to them what they say to us, as in one of the biggest things we hear is making money is hard. And my question to them is, if you believe making money is hard, what are you going to create in your life?
Right.
It's going to be hard for you to make
money. Absolutely.
Right? Because there's some basic principles in life, which is that our life reflects our beliefs.
Okay.
It's very hard for us to disagree with ourselves, right? If we ever enter an environment where everything is in disagreement with what we believe, we will leave. Right? So if you believe making money is hard, if you believe rich people get rich by screwing other people, and if you believe that my job is to do the best quality work and that's it, and that's the only thing I can do, right? And nobody else can care about my business. There's nobody who can do things better than I can, right? If it's got to be done right, it's got to be done by, right, me. Mm-hmm. So if you have those beliefs, you will always make sure that your reality lives up to those beliefs.
It's better to be right than happy, right? So it's like...
Well, yeah, that's the point. So your question was, how do we get people to change their mindset? A mindset is simply a collection of beliefs. And the way you get someone to change their mindset is for them to, number one, become aware of what they believe. Because most beliefs that we have, we're not aware of them. We just have them. Okay. Right? We just picked them up along the way in our life. We have them, and then we operate diligently in accordance with those beliefs. So the first thing is become aware of them. So first part of our coaching process is to go take people through a process where they start to realize what subconscious beliefs are they operating from. They don't even know.
How do you find about, how does one discover those unconscious beliefs?
Well, that's what the coaching process is.
You sort of don't know what you don't know, right? So
yeah,
how do you...
And so the coaching process is, it's a specifically set up process of uncovering these things. And the way I learned this was, I learned it trying to figure out how to run a business myself. Because when I graduated, I have an MBA. I've worked for 10 years for Fortune 500 companies. So I don't lack business knowledge. When I started my first business, it completely failed.
What was that business? Just curiosity.
What was that?
What was that business?
Oh, it was a sales training company, because I was a sales trainer in corporate.
Okay.
So I'm like, hey, I could do this. I can start a sales training company. But there's a business is a very different animal than just having a skill, right? Because I had good skills as a sales trainer. But a business is a whole series of other things, including your own mindset. Because the principle that I tell people is that your business is a reflection of you. So before your business can grow, guess who has to grow first?
Right.
Right. And I didn't understand that myself. Right. So within the first year, I basically lost all the money I had saved up for the past 10 years.
Wow.
But I still didn't get it. Right. I'm like, well, this is a big mistake. Right. I'm such a smart guy. I should be like a millionaire within like 12 months.
Right.
Then I started a second business, which was around like trading and, using other people's money. And I did very well at that. I mean, I had I was making 7 figures. And then I learned about other things where you can lose money even if you're perfectly right. I was learning new English words like rehypothecation and stuff like that, which is basically things that these trading platforms do. They take your money and hold it as collateral for their own bets. And if their bets go sour, guess what they can do?
They can take your money
to cover it.
Right.
Right. So a whole bunch of people lost money in that process. And so that business tanked. Not only did I not have any money, I actually owed other people money.
I see.
And
you went upside down. Instead of a positive net worth, you had a negative net worth, right?
Exactly. And so at that point, I had to ask myself a question. I'm like, what is going on, right? Does it have anything to do with me? And that's when I found some coaches who helped me understand this process of personal development, that I'm only just recreating my life based on my own beliefs.
Okay. And
then I worked with them to change my beliefs, and I learned the process of how you do it. And then in that process, that's when I started working with contractors.
Now, how do you do it? I mean, do you go read Think and Grow Rich? You go to a seminar, how do you shift that belief? Because most people have had this and they got it from their parents or relatives, yes. Society. It's heavily ingrained in who they are, and they have a vested interest in being right and knowing that, you got an honest guy earns money an hour at a time. The dishonest guy takes advantage of others and makes money without working, and all those kind of heavy beliefs. How do you shift those? And I'm thinking of like a contract. They got to be the epitome of like,
Oh
a
yeah,
blue collar
absolutely.
guy, right?
Yeah, they are the epitome of hardwired beliefs, right? And so to answer your question, how do you change beliefs, right? You change beliefs the same way you acquire them, right? How do you acquire beliefs? Two ways. First thing is over time, repetition. If you see something over and over and over again, and you don't question it or you don't disagree with it, you say you believe that's true. So that's one. The second thing is if you have a high emotional impact, right? If something happens, it's like a PTSD, right? It's a form of a belief that everything is dangerous, right? So those are the only two ways we actually acquire beliefs. Now, obviously, we don't have a system.
So one might be, seeing Jesus or magically changing yourself, having that kind of epiphany kind of thing.
Yes.
That all of a sudden, maybe a friend of yours dies. I mean, heavy duty emotional, oh my God, kind of things. But it's hard to create those, right? So that must not be the way you do it.
We haven't quite mastered that process yet.
Right.
If we do, our job will be super easy, right?
Right.
But there isn't. So the only other way is to have a consistent exposure to a set of desired beliefs that you want to acquire. But before you do that, it's like that Bruce Lee quote. Somebody asked him, "Hey, can you teach me everything you know?" His answer was, he held up a glass of water and he's like, "I can teach you everything I know, but first you have to do this." And he took the glass and he emptied it, right? Can you do this? Okay. And the point is that before you can change your belief, you number one have to become aware of what your current belief is. Not all beliefs are bad. Some help you, but especially beliefs that are actually getting in your way. Okay. Can you uncover those? And so our coaches are trained in a process of uncovering those. Number one. Then number two, ask yourself a question. If this belief, for example, let's say all rich people are bad, right? If this is what you believe, how likely is it that you are going to get rich?
Unless you want to be bad, I can't think of a way.
Exactly. Let's say you do want to be a good person, right? You will do everything in your power to sabotage any chance of success financially.
Right.
Right? Because you will not disagree with yourself at a belief level. And so you have to first uncover what that is. Then the second thing, you have to actually engage the logical part of your brain, because the belief systems are not logical, right? They don't live in the conscious part of the brain. They're in the subconscious, right? Okay. But once you have somebody, that's why we can't change it ourselves, unfortunately, right? You have to have somebody trained in how to do it. So once somebody allows you to go in, find out what that is, state it, write it down, then you have to look at it and say, do I want this? Then most of the time, if it's a bad belief, you don't, then ask yourself, now engage the logical part. What belief do you want in its place? Right? Then you actually
let's say my belief is all rich people are bad. I want to believe that at least some rich people are good, right?
Or, rich people are like any other people. They're good and they're bad. There's no difference. Does that make sense? Right? Yep. Money doesn't change character. Because the important thing to understand is that when you're trying to change a belief, the new belief that you're changing to has to be true, because you have to believe it.
That's true.
That's why affirmations, I don't think, work. Because they're these affirmations, I am like a money magnet, this, that. But back of your brain's going like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
Right.
Right? So that's why there's a huge difference between affirmations and beliefs. You now, through this process, you have the ability to engage the logical part of your brain and saying, okay, what is the right belief here? The right belief in this specific instance is rich people are just like anybody else. They just have more money. That's it.
Right.
Right? There's good, there's bad. And if I become rich, I can decide who I can be. I can be good or bad, either one. It's my choice. Right. Does that make sense? Right?
Okay.
And
so good.
No, go ahead. So
let's now, what you're saying is you use, I'm sure a specific technique, because I'm sure the listeners say, well, I've read all the books, the rah books. I've got my shelf full of Think and Go Rich and, how to win friends and influence people and all that kind of stuff. And yet my life still sucks. It's like,
because you can't learn swimming from a book. Right? Okay. It's the same way. You can't do this without actively engaging in the process of changing a belief. right?
Okay.
And this is exactly why my first two businesses failed, because I'm like, if I can just read enough books, if I can just watch enough YouTube videos, if I can just, acquire more knowledge, then somehow the process of being successful in business is not a knowledge process. It's not an information process. I mean, we live in a world where information is free.
Obviously, ChatGPT is way smarter than we are, and it should be able to start a business, right?
Exactly, right? It should be a trillionaire by now, but it's not, right? Because success in business is not an information game. And that's why so many people who go to all these colleges and degree, I mean, how many PhDs do you see successfully running companies?
Not a lot.
Exactly.
I would say, if I look at Elon Musk and people like that, he had an amazing ability to build teams, right?
Well, yeah, teams, right? But Elon Musk,
Right.
I mean, that guy's a weirdo, right? You can't like compare normal people to Elon
Right.
Musk. I mean, he's got some Alzheimer's, he's got some other, not Alzheimer's, what is it called? Autistic.
Asperger's,
He's
something, right?
he's on a different planet, basically,
Right.
right? But for normal people who don't have all the advantages and disadvantages that he has, right? He has the intense ability to focus without distraction and
Right.
judgment.
Right.
Think about that.
That's an ability. So
Right.
then what specific process do you get them as a coach
Mm-hmm.
to shift this belief system? What technology do you use?
I mean, this is something we've gathered from different places, right? Of how other people have done it. It's a 6-week process that we use, right?
Okay.
It's step number 1 is just understanding how this works. Step number 2 is finding out what are your subconscious beliefs that you don't even know, but you basically live your life by. Then step number 3 is then identifying what you can replace them with. And step number 4 is actually then starting implementing the replacement process, right? Because you can't have a vacuum. You have to replace.
Well, it's not like changing a light bulb. How do you like change the belief? You can't install one and put another one in.
Yes, it's a lot like how do you lose weight, right? You eat right and you exercise, okay? And you have to do it over and over and over again.
Right.
Right. And this is the same way. The beliefs are the same way. You have to first stop eating bad stuff. Stop living by bad beliefs, right? Identify good ones. And then work with somebody, just like a health coach or let's say fitness coach. You go there every week. They will give you the right training steps. And then over time, you get healthy, right? You eat right.
I would say that most people, if they're really going to change, need a personal trainer. They don't need a gym membership, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's why Planet Fitness is so wealthy, because they figured it out. Just give people gym memberships. Nobody comes.
Right.
Right. And that's exactly right. I mean, it's between a gym membership and somebody who has a fitness coach. Who do you think is going to succeed?
Right.
Right. It's pretty obvious. And it's the same way. You can read as many books as you want. You can watch videos. But unless you work with somebody who knows what they're doing and is there week after week after week, helping you migrate from your old ways of thinking to your new ways of thinking, it's very difficult to change your belief systems. You can read as many books as you want. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Right?
Well, let's say now you've accomplished step 1. You mentioned 3 steps. So step 1 is my belief system is changing. Now, I believe as my belief systems change, my reality is going to change, right?
Well, yes, but you also have to make it happen, right? This is not the secret where you just hope, money will fall, right? It's the first step. The first step is you have to make it possible for you to achieve a result. And that's what the changing of your beliefs allows you to do. Now you are not in self-sabotage. Okay. So that's the first step. The second step is you have to, when we say we want to change, like what we're trying to do is try to create a specific set of results in our life, right? That's what we're trying to do, especially in business. I want to make this much money. I want to have work only these many hours. I want to have this type of a business, this type of a life, right? Okay. The whole purpose of having a business is what?
I would say passion, freedom, so you can love your life.
Bingo, right? The reason we have businesses for I would say 99.9% of people is so that we can create a life for ourselves and our family that we could never create anywhere else, right? But people have never sat down and defined that in detail. We have a sense and we have a hope that one day if all this works, then maybe one day I will have what I want in life. But the basic principle again is if you're not clear about something, what are the chances you'll get there? Right.
Okay. So you help them define a business plan or specific goals or that kind of thing?
Yes. So before you get to a business plan, you have to get to a vision. I have this business for what reason? So that I can have a great life. You define in specific, we call it a vision board, specific way of what that life should look like in such clarity that you can almost taste it and feel it. Right. So that when you wake up every
with
morning,
relationships, with your kids, with
yes,
playing soccer, with the car you want to own, with the vacations you want to take, with the health you want to
yes,
have, that kind of stuff, right?
yes. And why? Because when you wake up in the morning and you go to, let's say there is a coaching session, the reason you're going to this coaching session is to create that life. Okay. And you have to get clear about that, because if you do, what happens to your energy level?
Okay. So step one is you get rid of the bad beliefs, develop new beliefs. Step two is you have a clear vision from everything from what kind of clothes you want to wear to where you want to live to who you want your relationships to be with, the soccer games you want to go to, you know, what you want to look like physically, mentally, spiritually. Get very clear about that vision. I assume you write it down or put it in pictures or something, right?
All of it. Write it down, put it in pictures, put numbers against it, put a plan, dates, everything. Okay. And along with that, you develop the business plan. That if this is the life I want, what type of business do I need to build that will give me this? Right. They all have, they have to be basically supporting each other. Okay. So that's step number 2. Then step number 3 is execution, which is, okay, you have this business plan. Now there's a process of actually making it happen. And so we'd work in like 1-year increments, and we take a 1-year goal and you divide that into 90-day plans. And then we say, all right, so when you're going to the coaching sessions, all you're doing working with the coach is working on the next 90-day plan. That's it. Why? Because you want to be laser focused on what you want to do. Because when you work in short increments and you're hyper focused, what happens to your chances of success?
So you think 90 days is a magic number?
Well, I mean, it's something we've picked, and it seems to work because it's not too short, like a month or a week, where, you don't have enough control or time to make things happen. And it's not too long, like 6 months or a year, where you just lose motivation.
Okay. So I'm assuming you've used this successfully with some businesses, okay?
Yes.
Because otherwise you wouldn't be having this conversation. So number one, give me a specific success story and why you think that individual succeeded. And then give me one of your failures where you think that person tanked and it didn't work.
Well, the success story, I mean, there's several of them. I'll pick one, I guess, James. It's a company called AWT Construction. He came to us shortly after the recession. His company was struggling, lots of overhead, was almost bankrupt. At that point, they're gone down from like 6-7 to like 1 million in revenue, right? And then they worked with us. I mean, hats off to him. He really, really worked hard, worked on himself the most. And within about, I would say, 4.5 to 5 years, he took his company from 1 million to 50 million.
Wow.
Right. He went from like 6-7 employees to, I think at the highest, he was like at 130 employees.
Okay. Now, this is something I think is important for the guys to understand. Having more employees doesn't mean more work. I think that's the belief that some people have to overcome, right? They think, wow, I have 5 employees. It's really hard. If I have 20 employees, I'm going to be tanked, right?
But that's if you do it wrong, right? Then what that tells me is that you do not have professional systems in your company, right? And that's what I was telling you in the beginning, is that most people think that they need to work harder to make more money. And that has a natural endpoint. We only have 24 hours in the day.
Right.
You have to be able to develop a business where the employees are the ones running the companies on the systems that you have built as the owner. So that as the company grows, you become less and less relevant to the business.
Okay.
Because otherwise, how will Starbucks have 500 or 5,000, whatever locations they have?
Right. I listened to a guy, he says, you can hire people to help you, which gives you more work. You can hire people to give you freedom, which is another kind of hire, right? Obviously.
Yes, exactly. But again, the problem that I see in this type of thinking is that people think that they need to like hire the best employee out there. First of all, there's not that many best employees in the world, right? And so when you're relying on people, you're always going to be in trouble, because even if you get a good one, now you're trapped and you're hostage to them.
Right.
Therefore, like if you go to McDonald's, they don't rely on good, fantastic employees. They have a system, and they train even, the most average person on how to run the system. That's why they don't care if somebody leaves, because they can replace and train very quickly.
Right.
right?
Okay.
And that's the type of systems we help people develop.
So you have those systems for construction companies, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's, that was what we did even when we did in the beginning, is because I've been in for Fortune 500 companies. In a Fortune 500 company, even the CEO can leave. Nobody cares. They'll replace and train the next guy.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the principle we use in all businesses.
Now explain one of your failures and why.
Well, anytime we have a failure, it goes back to one thing, always one thing, which is the person is unwilling to change their mindset.
So if you have a fat person that wants to become in shape, if they don't believe that they can be in shape, or they don't believe they can go to the gym or do whatever, you're sort of done, right? You can't.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry about it, because that person's not ready. There's many people. This is the puzzling thing I found. There's many people who are willing to spend money in the hopes that the spending of the money will cause them to have the results they want.
That's like the gym membership doesn't cause you to
Exactly,
get in shape.
exactly going to the gym membership. Okay, the gym membership does not make you lose weight. Spending money on coaching does not make you richer, right? And
Right.
it does not make you can have the best plan in the world, but if you don't have a different way of thinking, you'll never execute it.
Right. So it
Right.
sort of all comes down to work harder on yourself than you do on your business, right? I mean, it's all about the
Yes,
individual that makes a difference.
absolutely. And it's like I was watching this interview with Ray Dalio this morning. You know who Ray Dalio is? He's like one of the most successful hedge fund guys ever, right?
Okay.
He has a track record of almost never losing money, which is impossible in this space.
Right.
And he said one thing. He's like, if I can pick one thing that I can attribute all my success to, he's like, it's not technology, it's not smartest people. He says the simple thing is meditation. Every single morning, meditation. Guess what he's doing? Working on his
Right. Working on who he is as a
mindset.
person.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's amazing. So if people want to get in touch with you, Karan, I mean, I've been able to find you over on the internet. I know you're very good at marketing, but how would they reach you, and what would be a good way to find out if you're a good fit for them?
So the way to reach us is to go to thecontractorscoach.com and book a 30-minute session, right? There's a link right there. Now, the people that we work with, obviously, as coaches, we need some clay to work with, right? We can't work with a guy, a truck, and his dog. There's not enough there.
Right.
But if somebody has a business, if you're doing like about $1 million in revenue, you got about a handful of employees. That's a good starting point. Like I said, we work with people who've got $50 million businesses. One of our clients who's doing about 40, he just landed a $70 million project. So now we're officially working with like 9-figure businesses.
Right.
So, we have a range of things that we can work with.
Now, what is your wheelhouse? What's your ideal client as far as volume and number of employees?
Like I said, an ideal client would be somebody who is, who's, doing between 1 and 20 million, I would say.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Then we have the right space. We can really help them double, triple the size of their company and give them free time along with it.
Okay. So somebody between 1 and 20 million in the construction industry.
Yeah.
And I think what you've said, the most important thing is they have to be willing to recognize they are the problem. Because if they're blaming the economy, they're blaming the system, you can't fix any of that, right?
No, that's the shocking part was when we were doing this in 2008, 9, and 10. The economy didn't matter. I mean, that economy was way worse than what we have today. In that economy, we were helping people be immensely successful. So yes, to your point, the principle, it's somebody described this to me, and I've always remembered, understand that your business is a reflection of you.
Right. So I would say if you're not willing to work on yourself, you're probably the wrong person to call, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to work. Go get a gym membership. Hopefully you lose weight.
That's right. Cool. Okay. Well, thanks, Karan. I really appreciate this. I think it's great advice. I've been coaching 50 years and I couldn't agree with you more. So if you're interested and you're willing to work on yourself harder than you on your business, I highly recommend you give Karan a call at the Contractors Coach.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you.